Hi, everybody. Today I am in a closet and I'm going to talk to you about giving yourself permission to be your authentic self. I know it seems silly, right? Giving yourself permission to do anything. It might seem ridiculous, but let's take a closer look. For example, I used to restrict myself from dancing, singing. Imagine these were all things I really liked doing, but I let the fear of people ridiculing me play a role in doing these things freely. So I started restricting myself. Like, I can't dance in public. I can't sing in public. I can't do any of that. So therefore I never will. And a few other things I restricted myself on are relaxing. I became this crazed overdoer all the time, and relaxing, I just never allowed myself to do that. And as a child, I was really fearful to try new things just because I was afraid people would make fun of me and things like that. So I started restricting myself with activities I thought might be fun because people might make fun of me. And so I missed out on a lot of things as a child. I also didn't permit myself to celebrate and be excited about things when I became an adult. So a lot of people, when they make that transition from childhood to adulthood, they feel like they need to put down a lot of things that they used to do as a child. And one of the things people frequently put down is being excited and celebrating because that's childish, and they're afraid of being ridiculed. This is the I Care About You podcast, and I'm Juliana J. And today I am in a closet of some sort wearing this very loud vest. So I hope it doesn't cause too much disruption. But anyway, this is me. And today we're talking about permitting yourself to be your authentic self. We will discuss how to permit yourself. What is the difference between permission and discipline? What things you might already be restricting yourself in, and why are you doing it? And we will discuss how to spot yourself being restrictive and how to pivot away from denying permission to yourself. So there's also the issue of confusing discipline with restricting yourself. Now, everyone has to be disciplined and to exist in this framework of modern society. We are disciplined at work. We show up on time. We finish our work in a timely manner. We pride ourselves on being someone other people can count on. We're disciplined in other actions like parenting. We might not feel like we really want to go to that parent-teacher conference tonight, but we do it anyway because we're disciplined parents. We make dinner for our food for our children and others because we're disciplined at doing that. There are a lot of times we just want to veg out in front of the TV and do nothing, but we are disciplined in doing our chores around the house and our obligations, and we are doing our best to work within the parameters of modern society there by being disciplined. That is different than not giving yourself permission. However, having this extreme discipline with yourself can bleed into restricting yourself if you're not allowing yourself to be flexible when necessary. Now, I'm not talking about discipline. Let's put that aside. I'm talking about permitting ourselves to live life in a way that's fulfilling and joyous for us. Permitting yourself to find your true nature and then to celebrate it. Giving yourself permission is an act of love. We often restrict ourselves from things because we are punishing ourselves, or we lack self-esteem, or perhaps we're ashamed of ourselves for some reason. What are some things that can make you become restrictive? In addition to what I said, well, of course, as I said, lack of self-love, low self-esteem, lack of feeling secure in who you are, fear that people are going to make fun of us or ridicule us. Sometimes we've had a rigid upbringing with a culture of depravity and scarcity, and we become restrictive, feeling like we don't measure up. Imposter syndrome, especially at work, can make you restrictive and not more open to collaborating in different ways. Feelings of shame can make you feel restrictive. Past experiences that got out of control, trauma or danger feeling is always around you. It makes you rigid and restrictive so that you can keep yourself safe. That's your safety mechanism. Feelings of insecurity, the need to be in control of everything can make you restrictive. Feeling like choices in life aren't your own can make you feel restrictive. So it's kind of two polarities there, both feeling like you're not making your own choices and then being incredibly rigid and wanting to make all the choices. These are just a few of the reasons why we have a hard time giving ourselves permission. And I don't mean going hog wild and doing exactly what you want all the time. That is not what I'm saying. I've never done that before, but I don't think it will yield you positive results. I imagine that if you were completely out there doing whatever you wanted all the time and not having any balance or discipline in life, people would find you very unenjoyable. But then again, I have not tried that theory myself. But everything needs a balance. How do you know when you're restricting yourself without real reason? What are the red flags? Here are just a few. Are you inflexible? If plans change, do you have a really hard time with that? Really hard time with change? If a friend asks you out to dinner on a challenging night, do you say yes, even though you don't want to go? Is it a habitual type of response that you have? Perhaps you're not giving yourself permission to suggest another day or take a rain check. Are you rigid? Do you have a hard time with change or anything outside of the norm? Are you controlling? For example, is it comfortable for you to micromanage projects at work or my way or the highways type management style, or even people on your team? Are you trying to micromanage that? Or are you allowing people on your team to do their work and you're having faith that they will complete the project? If that's not a space you normally find yourself in, perhaps you're restrictive. Are you kind of a my way or a highway kind of person? Are you someone who's resistant to having other people teach you new ways of doing things or new ideas? Are you always thinking that you are no good at things, not smart, not capable, or in general, just a screw up? Do you always sacrifice your desires for others, or a lot of the time sacrifice your own needs or desires for others? This can be a sign of not permitting yourself to say no. There are more of these things, but in general, if you're sacrificing your own needs or dreams for others, or are you are really rigid and inflexible, both of these are red flags of denying yourself permission. Now, we all have to take the reins sometimes, and we all have to bend sometimes, but it is learning when and how to lead with openness and flexibility, and when to collaborate with others. It is important to know what dreams and goals are important to you and to define what your guiding principles are. What are the things that people restrict themselves on generally? Here are just a few things: fun activities, learning new things, being excited, showing emotions, loving both yourself and others, and receiving love, praise, both giving and accepting praise, accepting and giving compliments or a job well done, dreaming or having big goals, spending money on yourself, self-affirming beliefs, if you don't have many of those, not allowing yourself to have daydreams, not allowing yourself to relax, not allowing yourself to enjoy something, even small little tiny things, finding laughter and happiness, enjoying the company of others, taking a lunch at work. This was a big one for me. I never, ever, ever allowed myself to take a lunch. Leaving work on time. I also did this. I never allowed myself to leave work on time. I always had to work a certain amount over before I left every day. I just never allowed myself to do that ever. And those are just to name a few. How do you start giving yourself permission to be authentic? Define what your guiding principles or character traits are. What is important to you? On a sheet of paper, write out about 10 guiding principles. These can be things like truthfulness, learning, love, etc. What are your guiding principles do you find most important? Use these guiding principles to guide you. When something comes up, ask yourself, are you going with your guiding principles? Or are you going against it? If one of your guiding principles is love, is going along with the crowd and teasing or ridiculing somebody going against or going with that guiding principle of love? How do you feel when you go against your guiding principles? A chronic feeling of letting yourself down can manifest shame, guilt, or even self-hatred over time. I'm going to put a link in the description of a place where you can go to take a quiz on what your character traits are. It also has a big list of all the character traits that they've defined. It's a research center. So it's a really short little quiz. It's really fun. It'll kind of surprise you. It's worth doing. It doesn't cost you anything, and no one's going to do anything. It's just a quiz. Another thing you can do is make 3 columns on a sheet of paper. Write down 3 dreams or goals you have in the first column. In the second column, write what you're doing to achieve your goals and dreams. And in the third column, write down what you're allowing others to do to stop you, or what barriers have you created for yourself. One of the big things is usually emotions, like I'm fearful to put myself out there, I'm afraid of what might happen, things like that. So make those 3 columns and then look at the document. How can you get more support for yourself in achieving the goals? How can you shift the things in column 3 to be more supportive? Like if you're fearful, you can be brave, things like that. Just really look at those and see, are you restricting yourself in your own dreams and goals and thus putting roadblocks so that you can't achieve those things? Realize that to give yourself permission to be authentic, you must become a lifelong learner. There's no way around it. What small steps can you take today to allow yourself to be more open to learning new things? Write down the steps that you'll take and make yourself a game plan for how to do that. Give yourself permission to dream. Write down and define 3 to 5 dreams you have and how you will achieve them in this lifetime. Be specific. Maybe you would like to travel every 2 years to certain countries. Maybe you would like to learn something new. What is it? What's the timeline? How would you go about that? How does your guiding principles relate to those dreams? What guiding principles can you use to achieve those dreams, etc.? And celebrate. This is a biggie. Give yourself permission to celebrate all the big and little things that happen in life. And I'm not talking about celebrating by going out for a drink or dinner, but sure, do that. I'm talking about allow the celebration to be inside you too, to be generally happy and excited. There's so many times, like my birthday just came around and I was like, yay, great, okay, I'll go out to dinner. But I never let the joy of all of that enter my body and be inside. And that's really important, to find excitement in things and to really, really love things that you want to celebrate. If you turn that off, you can become jaded and unhappy over time. Finding joy and excitement is really important. Don't let the idea that somebody will call you a dork or lame because you celebrate. Turn that thought around into that they are missing out on the good things in life by not allowing themselves to celebrate. And be kind to yourself. When you have a setback, make sure you tell yourself, it's okay, I'm only human, and I'm learning, and I'm not alone. There's a lot of people out there. All of us are restricting ourselves and not giving ourselves permission to do things. Give yourself permission to have fun. Consider things you do as fun. Reframe your ideas about what you do as not just a task or an obligation, but actually something fun, such as working out has that vibe. We were all conditioned to think that that's a horrible thing that we have to do, it's a burden, but when you allow yourself, it can really be fun, or there can be fun parts of it. Giving yourself permission is really hard, especially if you grew up in cultures or families that define deprivation as a good thing. If you could deprive yourself of simple pleasures, you were strong or unselfish, those kinds of thoughts. But it turns out that being unselfish takes the ability to be able to permit yourself to be authentic. In permitting ourselves to be who we are doing a very unselfish act. We are opening ourselves up to being kind, more understanding, a better friend. Giving yourself permission allows you to be more present for others and to be more authentic. This is one thing that I think Ram Dass talked about, and so many others, but the best thing you can do, the greatest act of love for someone else, is to work on yourself. And the greatest act that they can do is to work on themselves. And that's really important, because if you can show up for people in an authentic, beautiful way and an open way, then everything is better than if you're closed-minded and jaded. Okay, so I hope this gave you a better idea of how to give yourself permission. Start small. You will cultivate a new way of being, and you will bring more self-worth and self-love into your life. And it's a win-win for you. But know that it's going to take time to change those pathways that you've created for yourself where you deny yourself permission. Like you'll see yourself, you'll feel yourself about to deny yourself. And then you need to take a step back and think. And that takes time to just redirect and find a new pathway in life. So be good to yourself and know that I love you and that I support you. And I will see you in the next one, my friends. Take good care.